What is good, friends, and welcome back. Today's video we will talk about damage versus firepower. Which buff is the best for you? Maybe you heard from somebody that damage is always better than firepower. We will test it out in this video, so we end the controversy or the argument. Maybe you're looking for the best buff to gain the upper hand and you don't know which buff to choose between damage or firepower. Seems like damage is interesting, but firepower always shows better number. So we will test it out. I have some game footage to share with you. We will know the result, and we will also look at the equation, what determines firepower, so you better understand. So without wasting any more of your time, let's go. Let's start with the numbers. I'm going to pull out any unit, my main battle tank, and if you click on firepower here, you will see that the firepower is the result of the damage dealt times the firing rate times the accuracy. Nowadays, you have officers or buff that will increase the damage, increase the firing rate, and even increase the firing accuracy. You can always increase the power, which is the result of this equation, but in the end, the numbers don't tell everything. You really have to test it out on the field to know which buff gives the better result, and this is what we're going to do in a few minutes. Now, to help you, if you want to calculate yourself the formula, I will write it down for you on the screen. So basically, damage is pretty simple, 1.11 million. Firing rate, you have to convert this value. You take 60 and you divide by 3.1. That will give you the firing rate times the firing accuracy in percentage. That's easy to understand. And this is it that will give you your firepower result. Also, you have to understand that the definition of damage may be different from an officer to another. For example, if I go into my officers, Valen, if you look at this definition, this officer's troop deals 30% extra normal attack damage. And sometimes you have just damage. Increase the damage. So what's the difference between damage and normal attack damage? Quite simple. The damage include the officer skill damage, as the normal attack damage is the white damage. What is the white damage? Is when you attack a unit, a target, you will see some numbers in white. This is the normal attack damage. The numbers in yellow is the officer skill, and the numbers in orange is the critical strike damage. All right, so let's start with the benchmark. To set the benchmark, I will use two main battle tank, one from No Money 4 against my main battle tank. I had to downgrade No Money 4 main battle tank, so we have about the same amount of power, equal amount of power, and the only officer without any officer skill training will be Guardian of Truth. This way we will see if we have, if this is a close match. You see some critical strike happening. Why is that? Guardian of Truth doesn't deal any critical strike. The reason is when you complete the advanced research for the main battle tank, you have a 5% chance to hit a critical strike. That's it. So like I said, you see the white damage, the normal attack, you see the yellow damage right there, which is the officer skill damage, and then you see the orange damage, which is the critical strike. I will speedrun this until the end of the test. Alright, this is the closest matchup I could obtain. I lost all my troop and managed to kill 84 units of my opponent. Now that our benchmark is set, we will repeat the exercise. keeping the same officer. The difference is I will skill train Guardian of Truth with Golden Eagle 20% damage increase. Oh, the 20% increase in damage did a significant difference against the benchmark. Instead of dying completely, I was able to defeat the enemy, only losing 36 units. We will go again, this time with the 20% increase in firepower from War Machine to compare it with the 20% increase in damage from Golden Eagle. That took quite a while. Let's look at the battle report. We did better than no officer skill training. However, we did much worse than the 20% damage increase from Golden Eagle. I managed to kill the enemy, however, at a hefty price. I almost lost all my troop. 84 reserves lost. So quite disappointing by the 20% firepower increase buff versus the 20% damage increase buff. Now let's redo the test. This time we will train Guardian of Truth with Civilian 30% damage increase on normal attack only. Normal attack only doesn't take into consideration the officer skill damage. So it's not quite the same thing, but let's try it anyways to see what will be the outcome. This battle report is quite interesting. It shows a similar performance versus the 20% damage increase from Golden Eagle. Watch this video until the end. We will compare all the performance on a spreadsheet. Now let's compare the performance of Civilian 30% damage increase on regular attack versus the 30% increase in firepower from Lady Justice. Wow, I didn't expect that. The 30% firepower increase did the worst than every other buff. So let's compare the data together. Let's review round by round to better understand. So the first round, Guardian of Truth versus Guardian of Truth, no skill training to set a benchmark. I lost all my units and I managed to kill 84 reserves. With a 20% damage increase, it was a complete opposite performance. I was able to defeat my enemy and only lost 36 reserves. The round lasted 1 minute 36 seconds. I dealt 84.1 million in unit damage. Then when I tried with the 20% firepower, I did worse. I lost more units, 44 versus 36. The round lasted twice as long and I barely did more unit damage, 80 million versus 84. I did less for a round that lasts twice as long. So clearly the damage is better, and if you look at the officer damage, With the 20% damage increase, I dealt 54.5 million, and with the firepower increase, 58.6 million despite more time in the battle. Not very happy with the 20% firepower increase. When I trained Guardian of Truth with the 30% normal damage increase, the performance was quite similar as the 20% damage increase. How can we explain this? Well, the unit dealt a little bit more damage in about the same amount of time, but if you look at the officer damage, less damage per officer because the normal attack doesn't boost the officer skill damage. This is the explanation. Now, as for the last performance, when I trained with the 30% increase in firepower, I'm confused because it did the absolute worst. I lost the most amount of units. I dealt almost the least amount of unit damage. Officer damage is average, is fine, and the damage suffered, I almost suffered the most. So how can we explain this? Honestly, I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie, I'm extremely disappointed in the firepower increase by 30%. I expect a performance similar to the 20% damage increase, at least. Now you know, damage is better than firepower at equal value. Always go with damage. It includes the officer skill damage. Then after that will be the normal damage, and in very last, the firepower increase. That's it for today's friend. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to drop me a like. That will help other commanders reach out for this content. Until then, I wish you a great week, and I'll catch you on the next video. See ya!